Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'll be breaking down the recently signed Inflation Reduction Act that President Biden just signed into law, be going over some of the major key components of the bill and the pros and cons of it, and how some of the benefits we may not see at all or may not see until years down the road, and why that's the case, and break everything down for you. My name is Brian Barsoon. I upload YouTube videos daily. You can find me on Twitter at Brian_Barsoon and on Rumble at BB_news. And let's get right into this. So we'll just do a quick breakdown here of some of the main components of the bill, and then I'll go into more detail on certain topics that I feel aren't really going to affect us in the long run, but they may, but we'll see. So the first one I wanted to cover was healthcare. They're cutting prescription drug costs for a number of different items. Unfortunately, one of them that was not covered was the Medicare for insulin costs. It was going to be capped at $35. That unfortunately did not make it to the bill, but there's other items that will be capped. That won't start until 2026, and that's for Medicare primarily. So if you're a Medicare recipient, those prices will come down eventually, just in a couple of years. So that's a good thing in general. Just wanted to note something here. Where is it? So if you're wondering why the insulin part did not get into the bill, you can just see that highlighted part here, that the special interests paid $187 million in lobbying just in this year alone. So you can put two and two together as to why the insulin portion didn't go in, even though it affects so many Americans that suffer from diabetes. Some people just can't lose the weight and they have to rely on insulin. So for the time being, those prices will be significantly higher. And unfortunately, we are losing lives because of that non-existent cap. So hopefully at some point they can get that cap for the insulin costs in there so we can help people out. So moving on to clean energy, this is what I feel is important. They talk about the savings that people are going to get. Now the main thing I wanted to highlight is right here. Up to $7,500 in tax credits for new electric vehicles and $4,000 for used electric vehicles, helping families save $950 a year. Now, on paper, it sounds like a good thing that they're going to be offering tax credits if you purchase a new vehicle. Now, without going too much into the weeds and number-wise, I do want to let you know there's a lot of inflation going on in the economy, and businesses have accordingly increased their costs, which I'll break down in a second here, why that credit is pretty much negated already. But because of businesses not getting profits from new car sales, this has caused businesses to increase their prices. So I just want to quickly go over to an article from the Daily Wire, where it's titled Biden's Inflation Bill Made $7,500 Electric Vehicle Tax Credits. Ford and GM just raised their prices by the same amount. So this is what I was alluding to, the fact that they've already gotten ahead of this. They knew what was going to be in the bill, so they just went ahead and increased their prices already. Obviously, the reasons they're giving are for the economy, which is partially true, but they also are a business that needs to run, and they want to make money as well, so they've kind of already offset those tax credits already. Not to mention that the average price of an electric vehicle is somewhere in the $50,000 a year range. I know there's some that they're in the $20,000 and $30,000 range, which is still decent amount if you're just a regular middle-class person trying to buy a new car. You don't have $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 laying around to just put down for a new electric vehicle. And I'll explain in a little more detail in a second why even if you did have that money, you're still going to be reliant on the quote-unquote dirty energy or oil and natural gas and things of that like. But just taking a look here, just breaking down some of the increases. So they said, citing significant material cost increases and other factors. Just go ahead and highlight there. Ford's announcement revealed price hikes between $6,000 and $8,500 for its electric vehicles. The F-150 Lightning Pro, for example, will sell for anywhere from $46,000 to $47,000. $7,000 increase from the roughly $40,000 charged for last year's model. GM likewise increased the cost of its electric Hummer by $6,250 last month. So the price hikes are comparable to the $7,500 tax credits for new electric vehicles included in the aforementioned Inflation Reduction Act, which at this time, this was written a couple days ago, was waiting the signature. So earmarks total of $369 billion to combat the existential crisis of climate change, according to remarks from President Biden. So just two more talking points from this article, and we'll move on. Just wanted to note that the national average price of gasoline was $2.38 before Biden took office. And now even though it's coming down, it's been coming down a lot over the last several weeks, still hovering around $4 a gallon on average. Some states it's lower, towards in the $3.50 range, which is good, but it's still not back to pre-Biden levels, if you want to call it that. And I just wanted to have a note here that they noted in the article from Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, that he claimed in November that Americans who buy electric vehicles will never have to worry about gas prices again. So I just wanted to break down briefly why that's not true. So when you go to fill up when you go to charge your electric vehicle at your electric pump, I have a question. Where is the energy coming from to create the electric charging station? The answer, succinctly, shortly, is that it comes from oil, natural gas, the electric grid, which is run on those things. So even if you're at the charging pump and your gas doesn't require oil or gas, if your car doesn't require that, then you're still using that energy to fill up your vehicle. And actually, some studies have noted that a electric charging station is actually 3 to 4 times more than the amount that you would get normally from electricity. So it's a significant increase in the price to use the energy to charge the electric vehicle. So it's good that they have electric vehicles out there, but it's still early days, and we still require other means of energy to create that energy to charge the vehicle. So that's another thing you have to factor in. And going over the bill just briefly, a study from economists at the University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School discovered that the Inflation Reduction Act would very slightly increase inflation over the next 2 years and decrease inflation thereafter. So what that's saying is we're going to get hit pretty hard in the next couple years, and then we'll see, hopefully, some decrease on the back end. So a little bit increase, then decrease. So that's why they're saying there's minimal to no change in the inflation and the overall spending. And I just wanted to highlight some of the vehicles that are qualifying for the vehicle tax credit for the electric vehicles. I'll briefly show them here and scroll on the screen. We got Audi, BMW, Fiat, Ford. There's the F-150 Lightning, aforementioned before, with the $7,500 credit, which has now pretty much been negated by the increased cost and price. Then there's other vehicles as well. Another thing to go over is that some of these credits, you don't qualify for them if the company is not building in North America. So they have to be built in North America, and also the lithium-ion batteries that power the vehicles have to be made in North America as well. So that's why you don't see Tesla on there, or they may be on here. Let's take a look. Oh, look at that. Not currently eligible for tax credits. So to my point, that's why they're not involved in that, because they do have some plants in America, but there's also other factors going on with Elon Musk that I'm sure you're probably aware of. They're not big fans of him right now, so his company's not going to benefit from this. So if you own a Tesla, you're out of luck. So the final portion of the Inflation Reduction Act that I wanted to go over was the taxes portion, because they're claiming that they're going to be increasing taxes on wealthy individuals and corporations, and that's going to fund and pay some of the bill. So just wanted to break down some of the numbers that the whitehouse.gov site has here. $160 billion, how much the top 1% of earners is estimated to evade each year in taxes. That is a lot of money. However, the government allows some of that to be evaded through subsidies and contracts and other various factors, for example, Amazon. So a lot of that is actually intentional, that they evade that. And of course, they have high priced lawyers and are able to use certain loopholes and government regulations that are already in play that allows them to evade this. So they're trying to counteract that by imposing a 15% minimum tax on corporate profits, so on the largest, most profitable corporations. So that's just on profits. So what I feel is going to happen, though, is if you're a company and you're operating in the U.S. and you're liable to these 15% minimum tax. You might just build outside of the United States and then just import your goods in. So that's what happened before President Trump had taken into office. Then he kind of laxed on some of those restrictions and allowed companies to come back into the United States. For example, with the corporate tax, I don't know the exact numbers, but he reduced the percentage of it down significantly. I think it was like 5%. 5 to 10% increase, and that allowed businesses to come back in, start building, because it was more profitable for them to do that. Now with this minimum tax on it, I'm sure there'll be some benefit for it, but a lot of companies will just go back to what they did before and build outside the United States and come back in. And there's other loopholes they can get around it as well, which I'm going to go over, and that's the carried interest provision. And that has to deal primarily with fund managers. So this was taken out of the bill, and this was and thanks in part to Kyrsten Sinema, senator from Arizona. So this is an article from CNBC. Carried interest provision is cut from the Inflation Reduction Act, how this works, and how it benefits high-income taxpayers. So it goes to break down some of it. Oh, there she is right there with Joe Manchin, our two favorite Democrats. And let's see. So it's just breaking down how it didn't survive due to the objections from Sinema. And let's keep scrolling here. So just to break it down, carried interest is a form of compensation paid to investment executives like private equity, hedge fund, and venture capital managers. So like I said, it's primarily people who invest in the stock market, things like that. So it has to do with the fund's profits. So that's currently capped at 20%. So any profits that is gained from the company, they can share in those profits. These private equity fund managers of the like. So normally, if there was just a regular payroll, like you and me pay in taxes, would have been in north of 37%, sometimes higher, based on how much money they were making year over year. And this is the main part to look at here. So here's where the tax controversy lies. The money is considered a return on investment. As such, managers pay a top 20% as opposed to 37%. That preferential 20% tax rate is the same as a long-term capital gains, which applies to investments like stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and real estate held for more than 1 year. So they're actually, with that provision, able to save about 17% at least on their profits. So the stock market's been doing very well the last couple of years. So that's a lot of money that the country is going to lose that they could have gained back to help pay for this act. So that's probably why it was taken out of the bill, because they realized these hedge fund managers that they were going to lose out. So they lobbied that $187 million this past year that I mentioned earlier to have that taken out of the bill. So pretty significant portion of the bill that I think is warranted to highlight here. So just breaking down, bulk of fund manager compensation is carried interest. So for example, carried interest accounts for at least 84% of managing partners' total compensation on average, according to a 2021 survey from Heidrick and Struggles. Share varies depending on a firm's assets under management. Those skews well over 90% among partners at larger firms. So might even be higher. Could be 90 to 95%. Could be 100% of their profits. So putting that in the bill would have been a significant way to pay for the bill, but since it's out of the bill, we're stuck with it. Thank you for watching this video. Please like, share, and subscribe if you enjoy the content. You can find me on Twitter at Brian_Barsoon and on Rumble as well at BB_news.